Hello and welcome to SLT with Nav, or better known as Something Like That with Nav. Good news! After almost 40 plus episodes on this particular podcast, I finally decided to take my relationship to the next level. I got down on one knee and I started a website. That's right. Hey, I'm taking my relationship to the whole new level. You can visit us at sltwithnav.com for all your podcasts. Everything is in one channel. Every page, yes, every artist that you see, everything is in one page, which makes it much easier. So you have no excuse whatsoever on not to listen to the show. So remember, if you're a Spotify person, you're an Apple person, you're an Amazon Music person, or Google Podcasts, whichever you want is all available on the page itself. So head on there and try to subscribe it if it's possible. It'd be great to have you there. All right, today's show is going to be a little exciting because I've been waiting to do this for a very long time. I've been wanting to talk about this genre of music, especially when it comes to rock. I've had chats with the different types of rockers, ranging from punk rock to heavy metal to soft rock, rock opera, you name it, I've done it all. But one of the topics, or rather one of the genres which I hardly had a chance to do was Christian rock. It's quite a unique genre, especially when it's associated with metal. That makes it much more interesting. And this particular dude I'm going to bring you on board comes from this kick-ass band, super awesome band called Shamash. And Shamash is just one of his band, while the entire world is trying to having difficulties maintaining one band. He actually has about, if I'm not mistaken, about 3 bands. So let's double check with him. It's Andre, my man. Andre!
Hey, hi Navin. What's up?
Hey, how you doing, man? You doing good?
Okay, man, bro.
And firstly, let me say thank you very much for being such an awesome guest. You're the very first. I've done this show about 40 plus episodes, almost 50. You're the very first guest that actually dressed up for the show.
Oh, dude, because I'm right under the aircon, I'm like freezing. So
okay. Because now I feel like an idiot right now wearing this t-shirt. You're the best dressed guest I've ever had on this show, man. Of course,
a prize or something.
Yeah, I wish I had something, man. The only thing I have with me right now is a can of coffee. That's about it. Yes, please do. Hey, thanks for coming on board, man. Shamash is the band, one of your bands, right? You have a list of bands. I mean, you've been in the industry for more than 25 years, 20 plus years, and you had a list of bands. Please enlighten me a little bit about your other bands before we get into Shamash.
Okay, so my first band that was serious, that I got signed up, was a band called Necromanicide.
Okay.
We were signed in 1995 with Holy Cannon Records. So Necromanicide is a thrash metal band. It's like thrash/death metal. We were like one of those crossover genres kind of thing. So that has been around since then. And then I took a little break of about 23 years, if I'm not wrong. My math is not.
You call that little, huh?
Okay, it's a long story, but I kind of stepped away from music for a bit just to focus on other things.
Okay.
Then the MCO hit last year.
Mm-hmm.
And I was stuck at home looking out the window. I live in an apartment. I looked out the window. No cars, very depressing. I looked at my computer. I got a DAW, system on my computer. I've been, sometimes I get little ideas. I record it down. And I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna work on this. So I just kind of worked on it. Sent it to a record label in the United States. Next thing you know, they sent a contract back.
Nice.
And they sent the contract back, and they loved the song. It was one song, and then we released an EP. And then my old band Necromanicide, we're working on a comeback. So that's another project. I have a black metal project also signed with another label. So that's also coming out. Yeah, so I get 3 projects and one unannounced project.
Okay.
Which is I'll wait for the record label to announce that one, because that one involves some interesting names. So I don't want to let the cat out of the bag.
Nice.
Yeah.
But how do you keep up with it, man? How do you keep up with it? 3 bands so far. I mean, as I'm counting right now, is 3 bands.
Yeah.
4. How do you cope up with
one
it?
unannounced
4.
one.
I'm without counting that. I'm talking about the current 3. How do you cope up with the 3 bands? Because as it is, as you know, most of the bands trying to keep up with one band, it's always been a nightmare. No music coming out. As for your particular band, let's get into Shamash. You guys have a long list of tracks within 1 year. You said it's just been a year since last
Yeah.
year's MCO,
Yeah.
and I was looking through some of your tracks, and that's a pretty long list of songs, man.
Yeah.
For a 1 year old band, that's pretty heavy. How did you manage to get the time and write all the stuff that you did?
Okay, so just to get some perspective, just to make things a little bit worse, right? I actually run a business here in Malaysia, so you know, so I'm doing this like after work during weekends, right? So the thing about me is I cope with stress by actually writing songs. So that's
That's a
one
nice
way.
way.
It will take me about 2 to 3 hours to get a whole song penned up. You know, I write
That's
songs really
fast.
quick. Yeah. So some of the tracks that you heard on the EP, 3 hours, 2 hours, songs that maybe lyrics might take same amount of time, but I write songs pretty quick. So I'm kind of like riding the wave and also making up for lost time because I had like 23 years being away from music, right? And I had a lot of ideas and I just kind of like wrote down and put it aside. So I'm just kind of like making good on that, catching up, and that's basically where it is. But every single project that I'm working on is a little bit different. Like for example, Shamash is like a cross genre extreme metal band. It's got a few
Okay.
different styles mashed into one, but it's a little bit more modern age. My older band Necromanicide is a little bit more trash death,
Okay.
and I've got a black metal project. So it's slightly all kind of different in the genre. They're all metal, but they're just different types of metal.
Yeah, because the thing is, what I like about, like I say, I'm narrowing it down to Shamash right now. Shamash, one of my favorite parts about listening to the songs from Shamash itself, you have the growl and you have the clear part of it. Because in most cases, especially when it comes to bands that's from Malaysia, when you have the growl, that's about it. You don't really hear the clear part of the vocals, right? You might have noticed that in a lot of metal bands going on. And but as for yours, it had a mix of both in it. Of course, it's all strictly male vocals in that, and it was kind of awesome. It's kind of awesome. The music, the feel, the growl, everything put in together. Because I'm going to be very honest with you. I'm not a technical guy when it comes to rock. I wouldn't know anything about A minor, C minor, B, whatever chords you think of. But as a listener on the other end of the radio, the other end of the speakers, I truly enjoyed the entire EP per se. And you had different versions of it because I was looking through some of your older stuff, or maybe I don't know, but there's older ones like what Dark Side of the Moon.
No,
Was it yours?
that's another shamash. There are actually about 3 or 4 different shamashes, by the way. Just to let you know.
Okay.
So, there's
That's
a
why I
Danish
had a big question mark.
band, there is a Brazilian band. I think there's a Mexican band also called Shamash.
Okay. That makes perfect sense because I was a bit like, okay, this is heavy metal, and then I'm listening to another version of it. I thought you just want to diversify your music in that part.
No.
Okay, thanks for clearing that out because it all came under one whole list. The moment you type in Shamash Show, I assumed that it was part of your band. So just to be clear, how many tracks do you have again?
The ones that we have released will be 5.
Okay, good.
5 tracks, yeah. So if you listen to the tracks, okay. So just to give you a perspective, for 23 years when I kind of left the metal scene, a lot of my time was spent doing a lot of church music. Where you just guitar singing. It's all about. I don't growl in church, right? So most people will be like, get that demon possessed guy off the stage, right? So I don't. But so what actually happened is you will listen. I mean, if you listen to the EP, right, there are some songs like I'll give you an example. The song "At the Throne," if you've heard it,
Yes,
right? It's
I
sort
did.
of in the middle, it just becomes like a clean singing song. That was actually a worship song that I wrote. That was just kind of sitting in my hard disk. So when I was writing this song, I was like, what do I do with this? And I just kind of plunked it in, and it worked. And I just kind of built up on that. Because the themes were different, even though that was a clean song, and the Throne was kind of like a growl death metal song, right? I thought it was a very cool kind of like, mid interlude kind of thing. And actually it turned out to be my favorite part of the song, actually.
Yeah, it is. That's the thing because you see, when I listen to songs, like especially when it's a new artist or whoever I come across, I listen to it with no expectations whatsoever. Because that's where you tend to discover more things through the songs that's going along, and that's what I felt through Shamash. Because everything was like a surprise for me. It's like, okay, this is a Malaysian rock band, okay, guys from Malaysia, but of course your music, when it caters for a worldwide audience. It's not really Malaysian per se; it's a worldwide audience. Hence, I think there's a reason why you got signed up with one of the locals abroad. Record labels abroad. So, and the songs that you wrote, it's like everything. Is it just you? Who is in the band itself?
Okay, so for the EP, which is Suffering Servant, it started off with just primarily being me.
Okay.
But what happened was we roped in Darren from An Honest Mistake, Army of Three. Darren joined in later in the project. We also had Alex, who was also from Army of Three. But primarily when they joined on board, I think most of the songs were kind of written already. So it was kind of like more or less done. You know, they just kind of added a little bit of the post-production feel and all that. So the full-length album that we're coming out is a very equal balance between myself, Darren, and Alex. And the songs are very interesting. So if you listen to Suffering Servant, as interesting as it is, it still kind of sounds a little bit old school because I'm very old school. Yeah. I come from a generation of metal that's like 30 years ago. You know,
nice.
Darren's a little bit more modern, so he's got all that core elements in him, which I don't like. When I met him, I didn't even know what a breakdown is. What was that? It's just like yeah. So anyway, to me, it's just like a type of musical preamble. So I had to learn all these terms and all that. So when we kind of got together and we started to write songs together, right? We actually have a very interesting chemistry. I think the songs are very interesting. They sound a little bit more modern than Suffering Servant, but they still have it still has a very good old school grounding.
Yeah.
So I like the old school death metal stuff. Like the Obituaries and and this band Mortification, which is one of my
yes, yeah.
So I love that band, man. I kind of keep going back to that kind of sound, but Darren is so he's producing the full length album that we're coming out with this time around, and he's a tough producer, man. So I'll lay down stuff which I think I'm happy with, send it over to him, and he'd be like, "Can't do that again." But it's good because he's pushing for excellence, and so the new stuff is interesting, man. Be more than happy to let you hear some of the demos at some point of time.
Definitely.
A little bit.
I'm looking forward for that.
And we're looking to release the first single in a few months.
Nice, because I kind of like the way you guys work. It's like no dilly-dally. It's like I keep on coming up. I keep churning music back to back. So if you're a fan of Shamash, you won't feel disappointed. There's no long wait. It's like when you have the adrenaline pumping, you just want to keep going and going and going. So I think that's what's been happening with your band itself. Because I was looking at the timeline of the songs that have been released, and in less than a year. This is considered amazing, man. They're having all the tracks going on back to back. Because in most cases, what bands do is I come up with a song, I wait for 6 months to a year, then I release my next single, and then it goes on. By the time you really get fully into the band, you kind of lose the interest. So in this case, I doubt that's ever going to happen. But I'm just curious of one thing. For a guy who's actually was a fan of Vanilla Ice and MC Hammer during childhood days, how did you get into this metal stuff, man?
Okay, so you gotta remember, right? I grew up in Malaysia, right? So we have very little exposure to music other than what's on the TV, right?
Yeah.
So when you're a kid, you turn out really. MC Hammer and Vanilla Ice is cool, right? So
yeah.
I listened to it. I liked it. It was awesome.
But were you the guy, one of those baggy pants dude or whatever?
Yeah, the carrot pants. I kind of Don Johnson was like in our square.
Yeah, I had that, man. I had that too. You gotta pull up your sleeves on your coat and
correct. Yeah, correct. So so what my salvation came one day when somebody brought a cassette to church one day, right? He was like, "Hey, check out this rock band. It's a band called Petra and White Cross." So I got exposed to this. So the first rock bands I got exposed to were actually Christian rock bands. Okay. Now my brother at the same time was listening to Iron Maiden, so I would hear all that noisy music coming from the other room. He stopped listening to Iron Maiden after a year. It was a phase for him, right? Now he's into like all that EDM stuff, and I'm the metalhead, so you kind of like swapped around.
That's a squid. That's a big switch.
Yeah, quite a switch. But I got pretty serious with that whole rock metal thing. So yeah.
Nice. Yeah. Oh, but it's cool. But the thing is, this you said those bands. The names that you mentioned earlier, the ones your first cassette, what was it again?
Petra, White Cross.
Okay, the thing is this. I'm always curious, like we were talking off air about having Christian rock metal or other Christian metal bands. I've been always I've been wondering about this for a very, very, very long time. How did the people, especially here in Malaysia, accept that? The whole idea of Christian rock band, the history of it. Because as you know, the moment anybody comes up with a metal track or any rock track, everybody's like, pretty skeptical. Is like, no, get the music out of here. We don't want those kind of tracks. This is. I mean, let's put it this way. Like, if I want to go really old school, no, those kind of stuff are bad influences, evil, things like that. So, how did the Christian rock thing kick in for you? I mean, kick in for the Malaysian scene. I know you guys have performed in churches, because the first band that I've personally came across was, of course, Army of Three. On
Right.
a personal note, and how did that happen for the Malaysian scene?
Okay, so actually, the first Christian metal band in Malaysia or Asia actually would be my band Necromanicide. So we preceded all these other bands. We were at least a decade before Army of Three. Yeah, and back then it was totally not accepted. I'll be very upfront with you. We were maligned. A lot of the churches looked at us like, "Are you guys crazy? I mean, you guys are supposed to be Bible believing Christians. Why are you playing satanic music?" Right?
Yeah.
And so it was just really not accepted. So we were in a little bit of a quandary, because as people who loved metal music, right, we felt that we need to express ourselves with the kind of music that we love,
True.
So we were just being very true to what we believed. And to us, music does not have any it's neutral. It doesn't have a compass of any sort, right? If you're a Satanist like Glenn Benton of Dayside, that kind of tool will be an advent for you to talk about Satanism. If you're a Christian, you use it to talk about what you believe in. So I mean, I'm not going to be the kind of preachy kind of person to try to force my beliefs down on you. But if I'm going to sing about something, I must sing about something I'm convicted about. And so that was the kind of stance that we had, and that's how we formed the band. And what we did. So generally, I mean, at the time, we got signed up by a mainstream label. It was Pony Canyon at the time, and we went released it and all that. So I mean, there were some people in the Christian scene that were, I mean, in churches that were quite open. They were like, "Hey, why didn't you come play in our church and all that, right?" But then when they heard our cassettes, they were like, "Oh, no, we're not play in our church." So I think the only church that was actually really open to have us play was my own church, because they were pretty radical people. So they're like, "Yeah, play," But even then, they had letters from other churches, right, saying that, look, if you have this band play, we get your church license revoked, stuff like that. So I mean, that was how it was back then. All right. So by the time the other bands came and seen like Army of Three and all that, I mean, it was a little bit more accepted, I mean, but then again, also you have to consider the kind of spectrum of music. I mean, I was into grindcore death, right? So until we were like grinding. You can't really sound it like that. I mean, Army of Three had more of that singing element to it, so it's a little bit more legible. So I mean, sometimes it's all just about perception and being educating people. So if you look into different countries, like the United States, is a lot more accepted, but then again, you have to also understand that Christian metal is actually a parallel movement to the metal movement. It has a very different kind of history. I mean, there are some artists that kind of cross the two boundaries, but it's a slightly different evolution. Yeah.
Okay. Because the thing is, like, because for me personally, like the only exposure that I've had at the early years, where you're talking about bands like when you songs like Kyrie, then you come out with Striker, then the bands, then you had Stripers, then you had Creed, right? Creed, if I'm not mistaken.
Creed, yes.
Yeah, Creed. So those are the kind of mainstream stuff that I was exposed to. But then again, when I started digging up a little deeper, discovering the metal scene, which is fantastic, man. And also the following that you have on the other parts of the world. I'm not so sure about here. It's fantastic, man. You have it's like, I'm not talking about a niche market. It is a huge market overall.
It's a very different market, actually.
Yeah, exactly. And how is it so far at present times here in Malaysia? Is like, okay, like say for example, if you're going to take your band and you're going to go back to churches and perform, are they still acceptable to this whole concept?
Okay, I mean, I'm not going to speak for all churches, right?
Yeah.
My church is totally fine. with this. I mean, they understand that this is a type of artistic outlet for people like myself, right? I mean, and I mean, why not? Sing about things that I'm convicted about, right? So I mean, my church has no problem with that. But I can't say the same for other churches, right? So I mean, there are some churches that are open, some that are not. I mean, it's all.
That's usually the case with the older people, or shall I say, the management itself. But in terms of audience, the younger generation accepting it, how is that?
Okay, so that's not necessarily true. Okay, so I heard that people like the Pope, for example, likes Black Sabbath. So I mean, it's a real tough call. But I think right now it is a little bit more accepted than 30 years ago when I first got into this whole Christian metal foray, right? So it's very, very different. I mean, it's a little bit more acceptable now. I think the biggest opposition we have is not so much from the Christian circles as much nowadays, but more from people who are from the mainstream side that are like, why are you trying to bring in this, religious kind of, concepts and ideas into a genre that's supposed to be rebellious and anti-God,
if you don't know metal, you don't know rock. I think it's going to be really difficult for them to accept it, or rather understand. But what are the steps are you guys taking in order to break that so-called perception of the ideology of the wall itself? To break that, what are you guys doing? What do you think are the best things that can be done to change that perception?
Nothing. We don't really care, actually, to be honest with you. Because simply, I mean, let's put it this way, okay? To be very, I mean, a real metal idea is, look, this is what I believe. This is what I want to write about. If I want to write a song about, heavy metal farting unicorns, I mean, I mean, why not, right?
But the thing is about like your music, if I wasn't paying attention to the lyrics per se, okay, just the music and overall the sound, it is awesome, man. It is freaking awesome. Until somebody just comes up and say, the lyrics is supposed to be meant like this, then it's like, okay, it's fine. It's another way for me to express my love towards the big guy out there, those kind of things. So it is kind of awesome, and I'm definitely looking forward to see live performances here with that concept. So the next time you have a live show, please make sure you invite me.
I hope so. It's we're in lockdown again, so I
know, man.
I'm 10 years.
I know. I just like everything's a mess, man. I've been discovering a lot of bands, a lot of music, not new faces, new artists, or maybe some of the older ones, and all the stuff that they have. And listening to the CD or maybe vinyls or MP3 is one thing, but watching them perform live is another. And the wait seems to be like getting longer. What's supposed to be 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, and now it's a year plus. It's like I just can't wait for this whole thing to be over, man.
Yeah, I mean, there are some. There is, a silver lining in a way. I mean, it's also kind of from an artist's perspective. I mean, I know it's a bit depressive and all that. You can play shows, right? But a lot of guys have actually kind of taken this time to kind of like take a step back, reevaluate the music, and like I said, I mean, Shamash wouldn't even exist if there wasn't this lockdown in the first place, right? It kind of set me on a path to go back into music. I mean, as the kind of spiritual guy that I am, I was like, I had all this stuff in my heart, right? And I really felt like the big guy out there saying like, hey, Andre, it's time to get back in. I need you to share about my message, my love for people, right? So you use whatever I've given you to spread this message around, this positive message that people need to hear. So that's basically how it is. So, I mean, there is always a silver lining, and it also kind of like helps people to kind of reevaluate what's really important.
Very true. Very true.
So, I mean, there is always a silver lining. So I think what's important is, as people, we just need to chin up and be positive.
Yeah, very true. Yeah, I could agree with you on that, because if it wasn't for the so-called MCO, this show wouldn't have started.
Exactly.
This particular podcast, we wouldn't have met, we wouldn't have spoken, and it's kind of nice actually. It's like for me, I just had managed to reinvent myself for the year 2020 and 2021, so which is a great thing. Now let's get back to your music right now, Shamash, and your EP. You are planning to come out with another one right this year, another album?
Yes,
or something?
We have a full length that's coming out. We've got most of the tracks done. I think maybe we just probably need to get maybe one more song done.
Okay.
I just wrote one song yesterday, which is kind of in dedication to my mom. My mom just passed on recently.
Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that, man. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so that song it's probably going to be the last song for our track because it's a kind of sad song. It's a tribute song. So that was done, and we probably maybe one more song, and I think we're good, and we have all the songs required for our release schedule. So the record label is probably going to release a few singles, and then we're going to have a full-length drop. We're looking into getting some music videos done as well, and I will make some announcements.
That's the thing I wanted to ask you, because do you guys actually have a music video? I mean, you have YouTube with this, the cover of the album or the song, but do you actually have a full music video for your band? Because I was looking forward for the performance.
Not yet, bro. It's a little tough to get this logistics done with all the SOPs and restrictions, with lockdowns, and so especially with this current lockdown in place, and our first single that's going to drop off in a few months. It's a real headache. So we're just thinking about how we're gonna get around it, because I think the general idea was to have a music video with our first single, so for the new album. So I don't know, man. So we're just trying to work out.
I think Darren would get bullied off, lah. I think Darren has some ideas.
Anything, man. The guy's a magician.
Yeah, he's like the Energizer Bunny. I've noticed him doing this. He's here, he's there, he's everywhere. The dude is pretty much everywhere, which I admire it very much. While everybody's like grumbling, is like, oh, MCO, I can't do this, I can't do that. No, but this guy's been churning out music, getting artists signed up, and writing songs and doing things, which is a great example. It's nice to know that you guys are working together in an album itself.
He's an amazing guy. I think one thing I do like about Darren is that he has this amazing can-do attitude. And one thing I like about working with Darren is Darren says it as it is, and when you're trying to get work done, it's very important to keep it real. And I think this guy is very grounded and very real. So
that one guy in the team
get songs done really quick, because we put it out there, works or doesn't work. We are very binary about it. Doesn't work, we scrap it, we move on to the next thing. So we're quick about it. And I think that's amazing. And when you want to find bandmates, I think this is very important. Find a bandmate like that.
Yeah, you need to have that one guy who's like keeping everybody on their feet. It's like, no joke, no, let's do it. You got to have that one guy instead of just taking it for granted. And because the thing another thing that we discovered from last year till this year is like the technology that we have, that we took for granted for years. We had this, everything could be just like more of a DIY thing there right now. So at least this year, we just discovered some new stuff, and it can be used for the music part of it for some people, not all. But your songs, speaking of your songs, your music, since it was difficult to write songs and recording it, did you do it at home, or is like you were working with some sound engineers or some studios for your particular song?
Okay. So basically, how we got it done was we worked at home. Okay, so I'm going to talk about the EP first, because that's the one that kind of like got, and I'll move on to the full album. So for the EP, basically, I laid down everything on my computer system. On my DAW, I wrote it. Got the tracks laid out, because we didn't have a drummer at that time yet. So in fact, we still don't have a drummer yet on the album. Yeah, for now. Yeah. So what happened was everything was programmed. We put it together. I recorded my parts and all that, and I actually sent it over to an engineer in Italy. He's really good. He's the guy that did Burzum's last album. So he's done all this European metal stuff. So he basically engineers and did all the mix down and mastering for us and sent back the tracks to us. So if you listen to the mix, and it sounds really amazing, it's got good hit space and all that, because we got a very experienced metal engineer to engineer it down.
Nice.
So so I think that's also very important. Having good materials is one thing, but also having a very good engineer is also very, very important. So so we got that down, and then the product was done. Now the full length that's coming out is a little bit different, because it's a lot of cross collaboration between Darren, myself, and Alex. So what happens is we write different parts of different songs, and we just keep sharing it, and then we have certain songs with little gaps, and then we'll just fill it up, and then we'll layer it. So it's kind of like when you have like little WhatsApp chat groups, our WhatsApp chat groups are just full of sound. Hey, listen to this. Hey, what do you think? Then you get things like, I like this, but this is corny. This is good. Andre, just take it and dump it in your other project. Stuff like that. I mean, Darren has rejected some songs, and so they end up getting thrown to my other project.
Hey, but in your case, nothing goes to waste, right? Every single thing you reject, it comes out with another band. If you reject
I
this,
got
it
a lot of
goes
stuff
to
that's wasted. Yeah, I got a,
really.
I'll do some really stupid stuff, Navin. Let me just tell you this. Like last week, right? I was like so down with the whole situation, right? I actually fired up my DAW and I recorded a metal version of Never Ending Story. And I recorded it and I liked it, but I don't think anybody else would like it. It's just for me.
When you just put it out there, man, you never know.
No,
just like
man,
one.
it's corny.
Don't mention your name. Just put some cartoon characters out there, a side project, your alter ego, or something like that. You never know, man. It might just work out. Since you're an expert in coming up with so many bands and managing them all together. That's like, oh man, I'm still trying to digest that, because when we had the chat on Facebook, you said which band. I said let's come on to the show. It's like, okay, which band you want to talk about? I said what? Which band? Then you gave me a whole list of bands. I was like, dude, is this guy for real? It's like you're managing 3 bands at one go. Oh man, that's fantastic, man. I always admire guys like this. It's like no excuses, no such thing as cannot, no such thing, no, I can't do it. Just do it, man.
Yeah, do it.
Yeah, but the thing is, apart from Shamash, okay, now you're busy with Shamash and working on this so-called full-length album, which is almost ready. I can say that. How about the other bands? Who's working on that? Who are they, and who's involved in those bands?
Okay, so the other one is Necromanicide, which is my old band. So we've got the lineup ready. So we have not got any materials yet. We are going to re-release our last album from a different label. They've licensed it from the current owners of the master disc. It's going to be released for the American market, because most of my fans are actually coming from North America and Brazil, Mexico. Not too much from Malaysia. I think in Malaysia we are almost unheard. Nobody knows.
I could
But
imagine.
in the US, if you go over to the Shamash Facebook site, you can see most of the guys who are having competition they're mostly American, followed by Brazilian, followed by Mexican, followed by Colombians, Venezuelan, and then you may have South Africa, and then Malaysia. So
Yes, the 4 guys that somebody you just had coffee with some time ago.
Yeah, probably one of my aunts or something, just checking on something like that. So I mean that's pretty much the whole thing. So Necromanicide, my old band, we are going to probably get together in a few months and discuss the new materials. We're going to work on it. So we've kind of like put back the old lineup that was the lineup from the 90s, minus one member who he doesn't have time for music anymore. But I think everyone else has come back. So we're going to probably start off, I don't know, we haven't decided whether we want to do a full album or an EP, but we're kind of discussing it. The other project I have is a black metal band. It's called Tritunggal. It's a one-man band, so it's just basically me doing black metal. So,
Okay, right.
So that one's going to be, I am in the middle of negotiating my contract, but it's almost done, actually. So once it's signed, we will announce it. It will be on a different label. Yeah. So
how do you do it, man? It's like I know guys who's struggling to get even one contract, and you're managing three or four.
3.
3. I don't know, man. I'm losing count. It's between 3, 4, because for all 6 months down the line, you're going to call me and tell me, hey, Nav, I got this other band that's going on right now.
Okay, the reason why I say 3 is because the 4th project, we haven't actually signed or announced anything yet. It will probably come out of the same label as Shamash, which is Rod Wheeler. So that one,
Okay.
I'm just going to have to wait for the record label to announce it, because there's some very interesting people in the project. I'm the only Malaysian. The rest are Americans. So
Nice.
it's going to be pretty interesting.
But having different bands in there, it's almost a different sound also, right? Because it's
Right.
like you have a different creative process working on each band. How do you cope up with that? It's like, because the thing is like when you're so involved in one particular band, let's say for example Shamash for that matter, and you're tuned into that kind of sound, that kind of mindset, that kind of feel, and all of a sudden you have to just switch to another one. How do you cope up with that?
Actually, the thing is, Navin, I don't have to cope with it, because I'm generally very eclectic by nature. So you know,
Okay.
one moment I can listen to Electric Light Orchestra and ABBA. The next moment I'll be listening to Cannibal Corpse. You know, I can kind of
Do the
fine tune.
switch.
I'm wired a little bit differently, so I'm not normal. You know, so I understand it's a little bit hard for most people to grasp that concept. But you know, if today, you know, I'm in a mood to do some ska music, I could probably just pop up the DAW and write a ska song. You know, I'm just kind of like that.
Oh, you're pretty diverse, to be more
I'm pretty
precise.
diverse. I listen to just about anything. You know, when I grew up, when I was young, I used to listen to this very obscure, you know, Nusantara style music called keroncong. You know,
Oh,
because
yes.
I'm a yeah,
Yeah.
the rhythms are you know, it's very localized kind of stuff. You know, so
Actually, it's kind of nice to have that kind of mindset of already, or rather taste, because at some point, one of those tunes might inspire you to write what is something that you want with your present genre. That's something I've seen many times.
yeah.
A lot of names also. Like if we talk about people like Freddie Mercury, how he infused his opera feel into the rock thing. You know, everything was because you listen to anything and everything at all. And if you really listen to whatever Slash listens to, you'll be amazed, man.
Exactly. So what you kind of see this a unique feature in the new Shamash album, because I like a lot of Middle Eastern music. You know, I'm very fascinated by the way people use makams. So you know, the most of the general Western music uses the kind of you know, scales, you know, Western scales, right? Middle Eastern music, they use makams, which are, they have notes that are in between our scales. It's just not just tone and semitones; they are also demitones. So we use a lot of those ideas in some of the songs in the new Shamash album. So you know, we've got ouds, doumbeks, and stuff. So it's got a very Middle Eastern. Some of them have very Middle Eastern kind of feel. So it's gonna kind of like push the sound expansion a little bit more. You know, so some people who are not very familiar with Middle Eastern music will be like, "Hey, that sounds like Nile or Offenland or something like that," which is kind of like, you know, Oriental metal. So you have a little bit of that feel in the new album as well.
Nice. Because for those who's listening to this, but
man.
come again?
Always push boundaries, man.
Yes, that's how you do it. Because for those listening to this particular podcast, I know you're cracking your head trying to figure out what exactly are we talking about for the past, I don't know, 30, 40 minutes. But the thing is this, you can check out the links. I'm going to be placing the links on this particular website page on every single track that you can think of, or maybe the YouTube and so on. Once you take a listen to it, okay, remember, listen to it with no expectations, open mind. Just listen, okay? Forget about what you just heard from Andre. Just listen from the start till the end, and you'll exactly know what Andre was talking about for the past couple of minutes, because it is something that you don't really expect. Because I've come across, you know, when you talk about rock music, you have that particular standard tunes or other standard composition for a track. But when you listen to the tracks from Shamash, it has a fusion of a lot of things, and the vibe you feel on the particular tracks is awesome, man. Because it's not just growl, it's not just heavy sound. It's also, you have the melody in it. And also, I'm not too sure about the lyrics, the chant part, if I'm not mistaken, some part goes on, right?
Yes, the Latin chants.
Latin chants are there.
The
That was
Latin
big.
chants. Songs,
Because I'm pretty sure you like the Gregorian thing going on.
Yeah,
Right?
I love the whole Gregorian thing. You know, I mean, when Enigma first came out, right? When Sadness was the thing. I mean, we're old enough to know Sadness.
Yes.
We get Sadness.
Yes.
You know,
It takes you to another realm altogether.
Yeah.
When you listen to those kind of tracks.
Exactly. But it's not something new, because you know, there are bands out there like Batushka and all that have that whole Orthodox Gregorian chant and metal, right? So you know, we're kind of introducing some of that, you know, in as well.
More like reintroduce.
Yeah, more like reintroduce. I mean, why not? I mean, it sounds cool. I mean, like I said, the whole idea is, you know, expand the genre. I mean, why must every band sound like another band? I mean, why must every band sound like Killswitch Engage or Cannibal Corpse or Metallica? Sound like themselves.
Oh man, for years I've been grumbling and bitching about that, man. That's the whole thing. It's like you need to have that fresh feel altogether. And as usual, whenever I invite anybody on this particular podcast, everybody has something new to bring on the table. So that's what Andre and, of course, his band members are doing with the band called Shamash. And, of course, his other bands, which I'm still trying to have I'm still having a bit of difficulties trying to pronounce that because it kind of reminds me of something from Lord of the Rings, man.
Yes, Necromanicide and Tretungal.
Necromanicide.
I'm so sorry that there's so they're
No, it's fine. It's perfectly fine. It's just like when you listen to metal, heavy metal, or dark metal, or black metal, death metal, you always have the names that are super bombastic, man. It's like you don't have that easy. It's like Pink, Blue, Black Sabbath, those kind of things. You just have something really unique, something really artistic. The only problem is people with my kind of IQ level, memorizing it will be a bit difficult. But then again, I'll try my best. I'll try to memorize it because I kind of like the name very much. So I'm just going to memorize it as much as possible. So let's list it down here. We've got Shamash,
Necromanicide, and
Necromanicide, the Tunga. Okay,
And
the Tunga is not so
yeah.
difficult. Yeah, and of course, in weeks or maybe months to come, you'll find out about the new project that will be announced really soon.
Which is
thank you
probably the easiest name of the bunch, by the way.
Really? Okay,
Yes.
okay. I'm just going to check out. I'm going to go back. Just going to listen to every track again. This time with my headphones on because I just love the sound that's coming out of it. And please, before I wrap it up, your upcoming album. Okay, what's the theme like? What is it all about in that particular album?
So
Does it have a theme to it?
There are a few things that we're talking about, but I think one of the general concepts that we're gonna explore a few themes actually, right? So one is we are going to be talking a little bit about stuff that's kind of happening in the Middle East from a very biblical, prophetic standpoint, because we believe that a lot of stuff that's happening now in the Middle East is actually kind of foretold in the Bible.
Okay.
So there are a few songs that kind of talk about that. There is a song there that's a tribute to one of my heroes, which is like the bassist and vocalist of Mortification, this band over here.
Okay.
Who sadly was pretty sick, so he can't play music anymore. But he's the guy that inspired me to get into this genre. So that would be another one. There's some other themes that are kind of related with what has been happening in my life recently. So, generally these three themes, right?
Okay.
Musically, it's a very different sounding album than Suffering Servant. It's probably a little bit better produced thanks to Darren. It's a little bit more modern. So it's got breakdowns thanks to Darren. I now grasp for what breakdowns are.
I gotta look it up after this, man. I gotta start googling it.
Yeah, we've also kind of okay. So if you listen to Suffering Servant, every song is tuned differently. So this one we kind of like we have more songs in a more common tuning, and it's tuned lower, so it's a little bit heavier. So this album is somewhat heavier, but we are not compromising on the melodic element. That part stays. There's still this clean singing as well. My growling is still there as well. So
nice.
It's different. It's very, very different. In terms of the art, we're basically using the same person that did our cover the last time. So he has already delivered the cover. It looks really nice. Very lot of the rings actually. Very nice.
Nice.
We are also using the same engineer that did Suffering Servant as well. So I think that's, but even the rough tracks as they are sound pretty decent as it is. So I'm very excited to hear the final mixes when they come back to us.
Nice. I'm pretty excited myself. Looking forward. Does this album have a name? Yeah, have you guys figured the name out for this album?
Not yet. Actually, okay. So the thing is, we we had a name. I mean, we always put placeholder names, right? It's just that as we start to write songs, rework songs, song titles change. So the song that had a name that I wanted to put as album cover, we changed the name. So the placeholder name no longer stands. So we'll work it out, because generally we like to name the album after a song. So I think that's probably a tradition we like to continue. So once we've kind of set everything, because there are a few songs that we still haven't laid down vocals for and themes yet. So once we've set everything, then we'll pick out a name. So we haven't quite got a name yet.
Nice. And we're looking at this particular album coming out roughly around...
Okay, so you're going to see a few singles from maybe July onwards, a few singles, and the full album should drop probably in late December or January. I mean,
Cool.
that's the schedule. Yep.
That's not very far away, man, from now. And the merchandise, does this album come together with merchandises? Because you have some pretty kick-ass t-shirts, man. I just love. I just don't know whether I have it in my size, but I just got to grab some of it soon, man.
You want to have a look at the latest one? Just give me 5 seconds.
Yes, please. I am looking forward. For those who are listening to this particular podcast, I know you can't see it, but if you watch it on Facebook, the video is down here in this page, and just check it out, so at least you can see. And if you haven't really visited the social media page, oh my gosh, this is fantastic, man. What's the biggest size you have in this, man? What's the biggest one? Come on.
The biggest one would be a US size 4XL, because our merch actually comes.
Did I tell you that you're my new best friend?
Bro, 4XL is just really.
I know. You know how pathetic it is for people like me. It's like every time there's some good merchandise come out, everybody's coming up with those Kiko size t-shirts, man. It's like, come on, please look. Have some mercy on us plus size people out there, man. It's like every t-shirt I buy, it looks like a handkerchief on me.
Okay, so our merch, right, is actually available from a company in the States called Anchor Merchandising. So basically, they produce merch, like even from this merch actually came from Anchor as well. So they produce for a lot of bands. You can order it. So we've got hats, bomber jackets. We've got stickers. We've got mouse pads. You want mugs, you want, tumblers.
The whole works, lah.
The whole works. I had a fan order a pair of shoes with the Suffering Servant cover on it as well. So we've got a pair of canvas shoes you can order canvas shoes, whole bunch of face masks.
Is the link available on your social media page?
It is. I'll send it over to you later as well.
Okay, we'll share it to this particular page here.
Correct. So the merch is all coming out of US. So Anchor is actually based out of California, and a lot of the merch is actually produced out of Florida.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it's not too bad. It's just that if you live on the other side of the planet like the rest of us, the merch shipping is.
I know. It's okay. At least Alex can brag around and say, "Hey, import my t-shirt lah. T-shirt import lah, babe."
What size are you, by the way?
I am big size.
No, because I got a few expressions. So.
Oh, okay. You put a 4XL or 5XL, whatever biggest you have in your shopping cart. Whatever. That's how I describe my size. Whenever somebody asks me what size are you in, I'm the biggest size you have, Lemon. That's all I can say.
Okay.
What do you expect, man? For 6'2", 120 kgs Indian boy, hey, that's what it is, man.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, don't let the camera fool you. Like, camera just shrink everything, and but
you don't
actually, no, trust me.
I used to be 108 kilos last time, by the way.
You know, this is what I really hate to the maximum. Everybody I come across says, I used to be this, I used to be that, but I can never say that at all. I never had the chance to say, hey, I used to be 150 kgs. Like, I'm just stuck with that 120 kgs all my life.
Well, it doesn't happen overnight and takes a little bit of effort though. So
yeah, I know. It's like I was like the only thing I can say is like, hey, I used to be 95, I used to be 90. Yeah, that's the only thing I can say. I used to be, but that so-called figure, I don't think so is ever going to happen anytime soon. But hope for the best, lah. Hope for the best. MC is not helping me out.
Happen, anyway. If you're Asian, I think the biggest problem is rice. So just stop eating rice.
The problem is you're Asian. That's it. Full stop. Nothing else to say.
There we go, man.
Oh, man. Andre, thank you so much. It's been a great pleasure having a chat with you. Awesome, thank you so much for enlightening me with your wonderful music. And praise the Lord. I hope everything works A-okay. Everything turns out fine for you till the release of the album, the upcoming bands or project that you have. Hope you get signed up pretty soon. And I wish you all the best in everything that's to come in the next couple of days, weeks, months, or whatever, right? Thank you so much. Remember, check them out, Shamash. They're available on YouTube. I will be posting out the links on this particular page. So check it out, click on it. And most importantly, like, share, subscribe, do whatever you have to do. Spread the word out. Try to understand, listen to it with an open mind and enjoy it as much as you can. That's the whole idea. Because remember, It's all about the message that's coming in the songs. All right, that's the most important thing. Focus on the message and enjoy the music at the very same time. Is there anything else you want to add in before we wrap things up, Andre?
No, totally cool, man. Hey, thanks for having me on your show, man. I had so much fun.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it big time, man. Thank you so much. We'll see you again, huh? Take care, man.
All right, thanks, man.